the most amazing and wonderful Joanne Turner. Not to
Don't
be
say my
confused
whole name.
with Joe. This is Joe. And that's Joe. But this is Joe who's here to speak to us tonight. Joe, we love you. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
What the heck you're up to.
Okay. Hi everybody. So if you don't know me, if you're new, welcome, and brief history of my life. I grew up in Wisconsin, go Packers, and then I joined the military and had a previous person in my life, husband, and we moved around, and every time we moved I would buy a house as like a live-in flip, and so I just kind of got into it that way. It just seemed to make sense with us moving every couple years. And then our last duty station was Hawaii. We moved to Coeur d'Alene, didn't know a single person, got divorced, and here I am. 6 years ago I met Nick Beveridge, our other fearless leader, and we started the North Idaho REI team. So now I'm up to about 15, 16 rentals and projects, and I normally have about 2 or 3 going at a time. And Tyler was nice enough to ask me, "Girl, why are you still buying right now with all the volatility?" And so I said, all right, I can talk on that for a minute. So I'm going to talk about the project I just bought last week. We just bought last week, and one we're buying on Monday, and then a case study of a flip we did in Bonner's Ferry that, fingers crossed, will close next week, and it has the most dramatic before and after pictures, so I wanted to share that with you as well. So just a refresher, why should we even buy a rental? Anybody? Just throw out some answers. Why should you have a rental? Good job. You're all right. Yeah, so if you're new to it, you want to try to buy a property that pays you every month to own it. The tenant is actually paying your mortgage, and you get a little bit of that extra. Also, in this area especially, we've seen a massive amount of appreciation. I think that's going to go down a bit. The Kootenai County snapshot, every month it comes out, the MLS, and it's gone up by like 20,000, 30,000 every month. This month, from last month, it only went up 1,000, and I bet it'll go down a little bit because I feel like it was overinflated and it's going to come down, but I also don't think there's going to be this huge crash. The tax benefits are insane, and this year for the first time I did some cost segregation studies. If you don't know what that is, definitely research it, because I would have had to pay about $45,000 in taxes last year, and instead I paid $4,000. So that is why I'm going to keep buying probably every year for the rest of my life, because in the first year you buy it is when you get that insane deduction. It also hedges inflation, because I am no expert on this. It's very confusing to explain, but basically the money you buy a house with today is not going to be worth as much in the future, and so somehow magically it's way better to buy now. Okay. And then of course you're using other people's money. You're using mortgages, you're using other people's money, and so it's just a great investment. And then you also have the control, unlike the stock market. I don't know anything about the stock market. I can't control it, but I know what to do with a house. So I like having the control over it. Okay, so what's the rental market doing? Anybody?
I heard the recent rents.
Yeah. So that's the latest on when I check like the news. All the talk is about how rents are skyrocketing, and they will now that people are being priced out of mortgages. They have to rent, and so that's driving up demand, and it's just basic economics. So this is the average 3-bedroom. 1.5 or more bath in Coeur d'Alene is $2,258. I remember when I started like 6 years ago, it was $1,200, and it was about that for a while, $1,200, $1,500, and now it just went crazy the last couple of years. What do you think it is in Sandpoint? I did it here too.
Higher.
It's the same. $2 difference. This is according to Rent-A-Meter or something, so everything, you know, it's not perfect, but and. On this one? So this is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 more baths. The average rent is $2,260 today. It was yesterday. The date.
That's current?
Yeah, this was yesterday. Josh on our team ran this for me. So, yeah.
We watched the market for the rentals in Coeur d'Alene, 2 ones. The lowest you can find is about $1,800. There's one listing at $1,400, but that was they listed it for the end of July and it was rented out.
Yeah, and so I just follow Zillow Rent because I feel like a lot of even property management companies post their rentals on Zillow, and you can get a good idea, okay, what would this rent for in this neighborhood? Just look on Zillow. And so I just had a house in Rathdrum, the tenant's moving out, and I had to re-rent it. So I was going to let you know how that one did. So it's in Sam's neighborhood, Sam and Jeremy's neighborhood, and I bought it in 2019 for $292,000. That was the average price in Kootenai County. So I'm not always just trying to find crazy deals. I put 20% down because I had to, because my lender made me. And but my principal, interest, taxes, insurance payment is $1,430, and at the time I got $1,750, and I thought that was pretty good. You know, I was just looking to cash flow a couple $100. I was playing kind of the long term. I like to balance appreciation and cash flow as much as possible, even though that's not always possible. But look how much it jumped up just in a couple years. I rented it out in one day for $27.50 a month. It's crazy. It feels like highway robbery, but I'll take it. So I think
Give me the renter's name so I can still do the mortgage.
to give them a mortgage, yeah. So this is one of the main reasons I'm still buying. It was so funny. I was telling everyone, like, a few years ago, I was like, well, as long as interest rates stay low, I'm going to keep buying. Then they shot up, and I'm like, well, as long as rents stay high, I'm going to keep buying because people are paying crazy amounts. So this is a house we just closed on, Joe and I did last week. It is on Pennsylvania Avenue, so about 7 blocks north of Sherman. It was on the MLS. Everyone says you cannot find a deal on the MLS. I find one every year. So, and
I really thought of you when I saw this.
so it was listed on June 13th. What happened around June 13th? Interest rates went up, and everyone's like, stop. Everyone just paused, and nobody did anything. This was listed at $350. And then 2 weeks later, it dropped to $325. There was only 5 outside pictures on the MLS. So I was like, I'll walk through it. So I walked through it, and I thought it was great. I'm like, I don't know what the deal was, but there was no other competing offer. So I just threw an offer in at $310, and they were doing a 1031 exchange, so they took it. So I got this house for $310, downtown Coeur d'Alene. And the best part is, it had an ADU in the back, not finished or anything, but the potential of one. So I just thought that was crazy. It was just sitting there. Why didn't anybody else go for it? I don't know. We'll find out. Well, Joe's finding out right now because there's a lot of rot and some issues. But anyway, so the potential numbers on this one, we bought it for $310. I'm using a hard money loan, and the payments are $2,500 a month, but I don't have to make a payment for 6 months because I've built a relationship with a hard money lender. So don't be afraid to use hard money, and the more you use it, the better rates and the better deals you'll get. So all in up front, I only had to put $4 grand down. Because this was on the MLS, I got the 3% commission because I'm an agent. So for $4,000, basically, I bought this house. I think the rehab of the main house is going to be about $25,000. That's new kitchen, floors, paint. Then my goal is to do a cash out refi once that main house is done. And on the low end, I think $480 is fair. I mean, there's houses sold in this last month for about $525, but I know we're in a shifting market, so I'm trying to be conservative. I have a relationship with Freedom Northwest Credit Union. These lenders probably have the same rates and amazing deals, so please talk to them to see what you can get. But basically, they can do 80% loan to value on an investment property, meaning I have to leave 20% equity in the deal, but then I can pull out some cash, you know, and then minus my initial loan amount. So basically, $480,000 times 80% is $384. I got the loan for $300. I had to put a little bit down, so I can pull $84,000 out. At that point, the monthly payment will be $2,200, not counting taxes and insurance. And Air CDA, Stacy, does the vacation rentals for me. She predicts that this house will generate $52,000 a year. So after their cut, we would make about $3,250. Then once we fix up the ADU, we can get $1,500 a month for that. So all said and done, we should be able to get 25 grand back and $2,500 a month forever. Yes.
Can you Airbnb in Coeur d'Alene both main house?
Don't ask these questions, Sarah. No, I'm kidding. So I just learned that, yeah, according to Stacy, you can. She does it all the time. But technically, when I get permits for the ADU, and if they see that, you're supposed to be a homeowner in one to Airbnb the other one. So what I'll probably have to do is have long-term tenants in both of them. We're still going to cash flow probably $1,500 to $2,000 a month. But I might try to still vacation rent it. But there's options, right? So, and those rules are changing all the time. So who knows? Maybe I can vacation rent both of them at some point. Maybe I can't vacation rent any of them, but I know I can keep them as rentals. Yes?
Weren't there just new rules and regulations in Coeur d'Alene that came out like this week on ADUs or national or something like that? Does anybody?
I don't know.
Did anyone hear that?
I spoke to the building planners today, and they said you can live in one and have the ADU, or vice versa, have the main house be a vacation rental and the ADU. So that rule is still the same as of today. I don't know what other rules might have came out.
There's something big that just passed about ADUs one time.
Okay, sounds good. So, would anybody else have bought this had they seen it? No? Yeah? Okay, so I'm just saying, like, why am I still buying? Because this still seems to make sense unless I'm missing something. And then I'll report my big failure to you guys. This is the next deal I'm buying. So wholesalers, get on their buy list. This came from AJ Sheffield. Him and his partner have those radio ads that we buy houses. You probably hear that all the time. So this came across. Most of their deals are in Spokane. So if you're interested in that market, great. I'm not. I just want Idaho houses. And I was like, man, that looks like a nice house. So this is how it came across. It's on Rose Street in Kellogg, $140,000. Their rent estimate is $1,400. That looked like the 1% rule, which we all think is elusive in our area, but I thought, hey, maybe that'll work. And they thought the after repair value was $250. I think that's a little high. I think it's more $220, but still worth looking at. This is what the inside looked like. So didn't look bad, right?
Are you sure that's Kellogg?
What?
Are you sure that's Kellogg?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what is this doing? So Joe and I went and looked at it. One of the rooms smelled like cat pee, otherwise pretty great. And so we actually we have two scenarios. We don't know what to do with this one, and I want your guys' opinion. So option A, we spend a week to clean up, do some minor repairs, throw it back on the market for $220 after paying agents, and so I multiply when I'm doing numbers by 0.93 because that takes out the 6% commission and about 1% for title fees. So it'd be down to $204,600 minus about $15,000 in repairs and hard money costs. That's kind of even on the high end. It would get us down to $189,600 minus the loan. We would walk away with $46,600. Yes.
So how do you, I don't know, for me, I think my taxes I would get nailed on my taxes.
To make that much that fast?
Or did you factor that in?
Yeah, so that's where the cost segregation studies come in. So that takes all of your active income and kind of offsets it. I'm not a CPA, but that's my understanding on the magic Sheena did for me last year. You could speak to that?
Well, I just want to specify that you're a real estate agent, right?
Yes.
So you can get some special privileges, if you will, as a real estate agent. You can offset more. So the average Joe who's not a real estate agent, cost segregation is still beneficial, not quite the same punch.
Okay. Good point.
Right? So property managers.
But even if you had to pay taxes on that and you walked away with half of it, I don't know, 25, 30,000, that's still a pretty good 1 week payday. Decent. Or do we, option B, same thing, 1 week cleanup, put a tenant in there for $1,500. That's a little bit of a stretch. $1,300 is probably more realistic, but there is nothing for rent. So that's in my favor right now. Do a cash out refinance. If the appraisal comes in at $220, all these numbers, bottom line is we'd walk away with $18,000 plus maybe cash flowing $350 a month. And we'll be able to do the cost segregation study, which would save huge on taxes. Which one would you do?
Plus you hold it for 10 years and then
What's that?
So plus you hold it for another 10 years.
Hold for another 10 years, get all the appreciation.
Depends on what you need too. Do you need cash right now, or do you want that rental income coming in?
Yeah, yes.
I'm too old and tired of dealing with tenants, so.
You take the first one? Yeah?
Do you want a rental at Kellogg's?
Yeah.
Especially tenants that
That is a big factor. I don't really want a rental in Kellogg's, but the numbers look good to keep it too. So that's the debate. So what do you want to do, honey? Good answer. Yeah, so we close on that one Monday, and then we'll get into it and then be like, oh crap, actually there's way more than we thought. I don't know. That's kind of the risk you take sometimes with wholesales, that is no inspections. There was other people competing kind of for this one, and that's just the chance you take. And when you have a handsome handyman, I'm willing to take that chance. So, all right. Okay, here is our famed Bonner's flip called GSP. Anyone know what that stands for? A couple people. It's the combination of the smell in the home. So it smelled like an old grandma combined with smoke, combined with poop. And that gave us GSP. So, just in case you're wondering where that name came from. So this deal came from a very wonderful person named Tyler Wagner. He and a couple people on our team use an app called Deal Machine, and it's basically a driving for dollars app, and you can send out postcards, and it's a direct mail campaign, and then sometimes sellers will call you and be like, yeah, this is a problem property, I want to get rid of it. So that's how he found this one. And here's some before pictures. Can you imagine the smell wafting? If I had a smell-o-vision. Yeah. This was pretty. This is handsome Joe and Dennis, our contractor, our partner. So Nick, myself, Dennis, and Joe went into it, all four of us, decided to take on this project. There's some dolls, not creepy, it's fine. Yeah, so that just gives you, there's creepy Nick, that's creepy too. This is the shop, it had a shop, and it was kind of livable. No, not livable at all. It had some weird rooms with weird holes, and we don't even want to know what they did in there. But this was the bottom line, the breakdown, if anybody wants to take a closer look at. So Tyler got it under contract for $117,000. We wrapped in $40,000 for repair money. Tyler made a nice little wholesale fee, and so we're pretty much all into the deal at $171,000. This was back last October, I want to say, when everything was just going crazy, and we're like, you can't lose, you can buy whatever and you'll be fine. So we were like, it makes sense. So we bought it.
How much is the wholesale fee?
$11,000. Which was great. I mean, I don't care if the wholesale fee is $60,000 if the number still makes sense for the end buyer. A lot of people get wrapped up on that. Yeah. So here's some before side-by-side pictures. So we all ooh and ah, Joe and Dennis's handiwork. Yeah, there's the bathroom. The smell is gone. It's wonderful. We ripped out a lot of things. I mean, all the flooring was gone, some of the ceiling was gone, and then a lot of kills. And there's another paint product that's specifically made for animal urine. And I just, on our Pennsylvania house, just used a product called Odoban, was it? And I washed the walls with that, and that seemed to work amazing too. So there's always ways to get smells out. That's the smell of money, okay? When you smell that, you buy that thing, because everybody's turned off by it, right? But there's ways to fix about anything. It just takes a little time and elbow grease and sweat and blood and tears. That's how the shop looked after. And there's Joe with his lover carrying him across the threshold at the end. So this is the listing currently. It's pending. We started at $349. Didn't get any activity. This is right when things started shifting. We dropped it to $339, and we're under contract right now for $330. It was supposed to close Monday the 18th. We just found out it's going to be delayed a few days. Fingers crossed it doesn't fall out. The people really want it, so hopefully it'll go through. So these are super ballpark numbers because I don't have the final closing statement yet, but we sold it for $330. After commissions, it'll be a 306. After what we put into it, you're down to 135, down minus some holding costs. Split with 4 partners. This isn't quite right because we didn't spend the whole 40 grand on the rehab. We came in closer to 30,000. But I made some bets that people would make at least $30,000 on this, and I delivered.
Where was this property?
Bonners Ferry on 4th Street, just downtown Bonners Ferry.
And you improved the town.
Exactly. We say this every day. We're making towns brighter and just, yeah, smell better. Yeah, exactly. Any questions on that?
Did you come to Priest-River?
Yeah, yes.
Are you having any challenges with getting materials for all your rehabs and stuff?
Not really. Home Depot is our main source, and then Lowe's if they are. It's sometimes we gotta like run to Liberty Lake because the ones here are out or something like that. But we're trying to order things like appliances well ahead of time, things that might be delayed, and every once in a while maybe we have to use a slightly different product, but we just kind of make do. Yeah.
And the second part of that question is you guys do a lot of the work yourself. You don't contract that out, correct?
On this one, yeah. I mean, I personally like to partner with my contractors. I just think it's great to not have to pay anybody till the end, even though I probably would make more money if I just paid somebody an hourly wage, but it's so much more fun and everybody wins, I feel like, when you partner with them. And that's not always the case too. We're doing this Pennsylvania house, hiring out the kitchen, the flooring. I mean, I like to sub out things like that to make the project go faster. But yeah, to have somebody handy in your corner to do the weird, odd things, like there's some rotting floor joists that need to get fixed, like that's hard to just find a rotting floor specialist, I guess, so, yeah.
I have a question for
Yeah.
partnering with your contractors.
Yeah.
Do you ever get afraid that somebody's going to call SEC on you for partnering, giving extra the SEC, the Securities and Exchange, because you're giving away equity? Isn't that like what the?
Well, it's potential. Like,
Oh no, that's Ross. Oh, okay.
yeah, I think that's more in syndication deals you have to worry about
But
them.
I thought you're giving equity away, that is syndication.
But it's only potential. Like, I don't know what this is going to sell for. They might not make anything. So I don't think we're violating anything.
It's a joint venture too.
Yeah, it's just a joint venture agreement. Yeah.
It's always my favorite.
Are you
Yes.
doing a percentage or are you doing a fix with your contractors?
We just have done it super even. Like for this one, it's 4 of us, 25, 25, 25. Split.
Well, when you bring in a contractor, you give them a portion, or is it a fixed amount, or are you doing like a percentage of it?
When we bring in somebody like to do the kitchen, they just give us a bid. It's Gene with Northwest Granite. He gives me a quote, $5,600, and then pay. Not at close. I'll pay that up front when I'm doing that. But the partners that I like go in on like that one, they don't get paid until we close on it. So they get paid another way. Any other questions on that one? It's getting hot in here. Okay, then I don't know if any of you know who Brendan Turner is. I got to meet him real briefly, so we're best friends. And so he wouldn't mind. I stole some slides he posted on Facebook yesterday, and it's all about this current market, and I thought I would just bring them up as talking points. Tyler already did in the lender's amazing job talking about this, but he just talks about inflation, and in layman's terms, basically inflation still went up this last month, which everyone's kind of panicking about, but basically he has some prediction of what this really means. So I don't want to read all this, never mind.
Are you getting Brandon to speak at REI?
Yes, I am trying to get Brandon to speak at REI. I'll let you all know. But basically, he says that to stop inflation, they have to raise the interest rates, right, to slow things down, which they are doing. Maybe a little too fast, too much for us in Idaho. It feels like it, but it's a good thing overall. And how he thinks this is going to affect all investors is for house flipping. He thinks it's getting riskier, which is true. I agree. We're about to flip another Bonners Ferry house. But I feel like the worst case scenario is I'll just keep it as a rental. Even if I'm losing a little bit of money, you only really lose if you have to sell. And so that's when I'm looking at properties. It's like trying to imagine the worst case scenarios and just don't sell it. Rental property investors, long-term debt is your friend, as is location. So make sure you have great lenders that can get you into good programs. But I think if you own rentals or want to buy rentals, it's still an amazing time because rents aren't going down anytime soon from what I've seen personally. The Girrrrrl investors, so that's when you buy it, you renovate it, you put a renter in it, then you refinance it and repeat, which is what we're trying to do on some of these. He says you might be in for some trouble. That's just because it's really harder to predict what that appraiser is going to say it's worth 3 months from now with prices kind of shifting, right? So you want to be really conservative with your numbers when you're thinking the end game is to refinance and pull some money back out. And then for vacation rentals, he thinks this is really risky too because new rules and regulations, you know, the government can basically shut that whole thing down like I guess they just did in Maui or something. So as far as I know, Coeur d'Alene is super friendly to vacation rentals. Sandpoint is super not. So you just got to know your areas. If you're just outside Sandpoint, I have one in Sagal. Nobody cares as far as I know about it. So I'm just going to keep doing it. So it's just stay informed, keep coming to these things, and just, you know, make sure you have multiple strategies would be my advice. And then basically he's like, overall, I'm not panicking in any way. Instead, I'm very optimistic. And that's how I feel too. I mean, if you're playing the long game with this stuff, there's no reason to freak out about this shift. It's so weird. Like it just started shifting and already real estate agents are getting out of the business and lenders are probably panicking. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's been 2 seconds. Like, calm down. So that's how I feel about it anyway. Yes?
I have comments on the Airbnb market.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the Airbnb market going forward. Talk to Stacy because she's probably the one that's most heavily involved in our local politics concerning the Airbnb market. Like anyone that I've ever talked. So if you want to get involved in our Airbnb market and politics going forward, Stacy is like gunning for us investors. Pretty much is, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I trust her. She's at the board meetings, this and that, and basically there's no tourism is huge in Coeur d'Alene. That's the other thing I meant to have a picture of. Guess who was on a boat on Lake Coeur d'Alene yestered? Not that anybody really cares. Justin Bieber. Well, as long as these rich people keep coming, I think we're going to be just fine. And last, don't forget to invest in your family and friends. I feel like I get trapped in the real estate money mode, and then I'm like, oh man, I really have to pay $400 for a hotel room. We're going to go see John Mulaney in Seattle, and it's like, yes, that's why I'm doing this. So have fun, help your family and friends through this shifting market, and it'll be okay. I was told I was supposed to comfort everybody. It'll be okay. Any other questions, thoughts?
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
You put your lake house, Airbnb or whatever, under management with Stacy, right?
Yep.
Have you seen a huge increase in what they've done over what you could do, or are you?
It is okay.
Returns, was it worth it?
Not yet, and I don't know really because I just gave it to her like mid-June and she had no time to advertise, so this year I'm not going to be able to tell on that one. She's killing it with our downtown Coeur d'Alene house, and I think definitely in the long run she will do great with the one up here too. She's looking to acquire more, so if anybody has some or wants to get in with them so that she can have a better team up here and better market knowledge of it. I'm just happy to not have to deal with it, so I'm happy, but whether or not it's more profitable with them, we'll find out. I think it'll take a year or two to really tell though.
I feel like your return on investment with Stacy is really your time.
Yeah.
I asked Stacy if we could do our own maintenance on it because we're contractors, and she said our standard for our service providers is they're deployed within 15 minutes. Can you uphold that standard? You can have it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. So as I'm growing my portfolio, the easy long-term rentals I think are fine to keep managing for now for me. Airbnbs I don't want to do it, which is so funny because I presented on them 3 years ago and I'm like, it's so easy, it just takes an hour a week, but really it's more involved than that and I just don't want to do it anymore, so. Anybody else? People need more beer? It is really hot in here.
Great job.
Thank you.